Recording in progress. Okay by me?
Fabulous. Well, hello, ambassadors, and welcome to your next Ambassador Masterclass. This is a really exciting one, so I'm very pleased to welcome Harry, who's going to introduce himself properly in a minute, but might give you a little cheeky wave now. There we go, you see. Because this is a completely new masterclass that we've never done before, but it's something that I think you guys are going to absolutely love and really, really value being able to get your teeth into a project that supports actions for nature. That's what you guys are all about. You are committed and dedicated to supporting nature. But this is going to give you some more tips about how you can do that practically wise. As usual, just going to quickly check with Harry. Harry, can you still see my screen?
I can still see your screen and hear you.
Marvellous. You can see that one's changed there.
Yep, that's all good.
Wonderful. Technology is never my friend, guys, so I'm always just having to check that it's actually behaving itself. So as always, you guys are a force for nature. You guys are a real force for nature in your school and in your communities, helping to connect people to nature, learning more about it yourself and sharing it with others. And all of those things are really key to taking action for nature. But if I'm being honest, I am not the biggest expert, whilst I completely advocate for this and I completely encourage you guys to do this. We do have an expert with us, and that's who I'm going to hand over to. So Harry is one of our senior ambassadors. He worked with us for a few years now, gets involved in all sorts of exciting projects with us and on his own in other roles, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what he does and why he's passionate about taking action for nature. So I'll hand over to you, Harry.
Thank you very much, Katie. That was a very nice introduction. But yeah, hi guys. My name's Harry. As Katie mentioned, I'm a senior ambassador and I've done some amazing stuff with the Tree Council. Being an ambassador is the coolest little job ever. We've been to places like number 10 Downing Street to meet the Prime Minister's wife. We've been to Hampton Court, massive palace where Henry VIII used to live. We've been to all over the UK to so many sites and done so many amazing things. At the moment, I work as something called an ecologist, which, if you know what an ecologist is, you're in the right place. But an ecologist, essentially, it's people who study, I mean, eco, the first part of that sort of sums it up. People who study wildlife. My job is basically to go out and count different animals and plants and fungi and then write about them and then send them to people and tell them how they can look after them better and how they can manage their land to help out those species. I also do lots of other little bits and pieces. At the moment, I'm working as part of another charity to look after this big country park, and we're finding out how we can practically make it better for wildlife, or maybe planting more trees, leaving more dead wood as habitat. And there's also a picture on the screen of me holding lots of dirty bits of wood. And there's a picture of a sparrow on there as well. Now, this is one of my previous projects that I've ran because alongside work, I like to keep myself very busy a lot of the time. I don't like to just sort of sit down. I can't stay still for very long. I need to do things a lot of the time, you know. And the sparrow on the screen is as part of a talk that I did for a project called Save the House Sparrow. Now, house sparrows, they're a little brown bird about the size of your fist, and they're the commonest bird in Britain, but they're declining really, really badly. There's not anywhere near as many of them as there used to be. And this is the commonest bird in Britain. So when I was 16, I got really, really passionate about this and decided I wanted to do something to save the house sparrow. So I set up this little project. I made a little website, drew a little logo, and started building bird boxes and putting them up to help them. I started raising money so that people could put up bird feeders and look after their gardens in a more sparrow-friendly way. And I gave lots of talks and got involved in lots of very exciting events. And today, hopefully going to be able to give you some of the things I've learned over the past couple of years so that you can then make your save the house sparrow, save the house spider, maybe if you're an insect person, and just how you can sort of use all of your passion to make a project like that. So I think we should get started. So just the two LOs for the day about how we can take action for nature. Number one is to understand the impact that one person can have on nature, because a lot of the time there's a lot of great organizations out there and lots of big groups like the RSPB and WWF, but you, right there, you, me, you, Katie, on our own, We can do so much. Yeah, even you, Katie. We can all
And I
do
think
so
that's
much.
a really important message, Harry, because sometimes as well it can feel like that's like a massive problem or that's a massive issue. And so how can I make enough of a difference? Like you said, the decline of the house sparrow population, you might think, how can I personally make a difference to that? But if we all do something to help, it can really have an impact. So I think it's a really key message.
That is a very good one. And LO number two is to learn the different methods of helping nature. Be able to give examples of how people can help nature. Consider what actions you can take. So we're just going to be looking at some other people that have made projects and started them on their own, and then taking things that they've learned and taking some of the tips and tricks so that then you can actually go out and use these and make your own one on your own, or with a group as well. So the first activity is I'd like to get you thinking about some of the different ways that we can make a difference, some of the different ways we can make a change. And I'd like you, just in your groups, just with the person you're sat next to, or just to yourself, think about who out of these two pictures has more of an impact and why. So on one side, we've got a bird box that's been put up, and that sort of represents practical things that you can do, like going out and planting trees and looking after habitats and actually being on the ground and helping those species. Then on the other side, we've got somebody giving an assembly to a big group of people. And like the person who makes habitats every day, the person who does assemblies might go and see a different school every day and talk to people and try and get them interested in nature. So which of these two do we think has the best impact? If you're watching this back as a recording, just pause the video for a couple of minutes where you have a think and then press play and we'll continue.
Yeah, that's the benefit. You get extra thinking time, guys, if you're watching its recording. It's a tough question, though.
It is.
Someone going out and doing things so they have a bigger impact, or someone talking to others, leading assemblies, doing
Hmm.
talks in public places.
Yeah, be interesting to hear different people's opinions, definitely. Right, so we'll keep on going. If you just pause the video and have a discussion, I'd be really, really interested to know some of the different things that you thought, whether you
And
thought, oh yeah, go on,
I was
Katie.
going to say, and importantly, why? Why do you think that? So if you think it's someone creating habitats, planting trees, why do you think that has more impact? If you think it's people going doing talks and creating posters and websites, why do you think that's so impactful?
Hmm,
But you can't just give a simple answer of one or the other. You've got to talk about why you thought that.
yeah, because it's a good question. There's lots and lots of different reasons and answers behind them. I'm going to give one just now, just one example, which is that these are both equally good ways of making a difference, and
Trick
it
answer
depends
there,
as well,
Harry.
really. Sorry?
Trick answer there.
That well, it could. Some people might have said both. Some
I
of you
think they
might have
might.
said neither, and you might have had a completely different answer. But just one of the ways, one of the answers that we're going to go forwards and have a look at is the answer. I'm cheating a little bit. The answer that both of them are very good. The person that it's two different types, really, two different types of action. The person who goes and puts up the bird box, or might go, maybe goes and manages the habitat and works with the species or with the problem face to face, we call that the direct impact. So I was very passionate about my house sparrows and about how they were declining, how there weren't many of them in my area, in my garden anymore. So I took direct action by building a load of bird boxes out of wood and putting them up. And then that's a direct way to help them because then they'll go in there and then they'll hopefully nest, they'll have chicks, and there'll be more of them. Problem solved. But there's also the indirect way of doing that. So I did a little bit of this towards the end, but I didn't really like speaking to people too much. I was quite nervous. I hid away a lot of the time when I was talking. I did quite a lot of that. I didn't really like talking or dealing with other people very much. I much preferred to sort of hide away and just build my little bird boxes. But I did do some speaking. And the joy of speaking to people is that you can then have an impact on them. Like now with you guys, some of you guys might be the next David Attenboroughs. You might be the next Chris Packhams, the next Greta Thunbergs. But you might not know that until you've gone to a fabulous Tree Council webinar with someone like Katie. And then she takes all of her passion and she puts it on you and she makes you realize, oh, wow, I can do something. I'm the next David Attenborough. I can go and put up bird boxes. I can go and plant trees. And then you then go and set up projects. But Katie indirectly helped things by helping you to help things. So Katie might be really, really passionate about trees, for example, which I hope working for the Tree
I hope
Council
so.
she is. And she might think that there's not quite enough of them being planted, and there's lots of areas of farmland maybe that could do with strips of hedgerow in between them, or some strips of trees. And maybe Katie doesn't know the right people. Maybe she doesn't know how to plant trees, although she does. She's very fabulous at it. And so she starts doing communications instead. And she goes around and talks to people and she does assemblies and workshops on how you can plant trees. And then maybe one day somebody goes to one of those workshops and it makes them, and they do know the people and they do have the time and the energy and the money. And they think, huh, I can go and plant some trees. I'll be great at planting trees. And then they go and plant loads of trees and loads of hedgerows. But that goes back to Katie because she sort of indirectly planted them. She's not put the spade in the ground, but she's taught someone else how to, and then they've gone and put the spade in the ground. So they're your two sort of ways you can make a difference. You haven't got to pick one. If you prefer getting your hands dirty and getting muddy and getting into it, maybe you're more of a direct person. If you quite like people, you like talking, you like writing, maybe the indirect way. Maybe you can smush them together and be amazing at everything.
And Harry, I think one of the things that I thought of when you said that about you didn't like speaking to people as much, but you kind of started to do it a little bit. Sometimes
Mm.
when you push yourself outside your comfort zone, you find that actually you're better than you think, or you get better at you the more you do it.
100%. It is just practice. It's just sort of realizing people aren't that scary, really. They do seem it at first, but I promise they're all pretty nice, which we'll come on to people and some amazing people in a little bit, and we'll
Now,
talk a
I've
little bit more about that.
I've picked a strange picture here because I've got a picture of some cows in a field, which seems a little bit odd, and we've not actually mentioned why we have any cows on this slide. But you mentioned something to me, Harry, about herd mentality, and that links, I suppose, to that indirect action.
Yes, yes. So herd mentality is this idea that if you've got a flock of sheep, if you ever watched like a sheepdog chase a flock of sheep, the sheep that are closest to the sheepdog will sort of look and they'll see it and they'll run away really, really quick. The sheep at the other end of the herd might not have even seen the sheepdog, might not have even heard it, but because other sheep are running, they go, I gotta run as well. And they go and they leg it. They don't really know why, but we call that herd mentality. That thing that when enough of something does something, everything else follows it. And this happens in people as well, herd mentality. A lot of the time, there are things like trends that are cool. I'm sure you got a lot of them at your schools. Something that's cool, and then all of a sudden it spreads, and like fidget spinners are everywhere all of a sudden, or everyone's doing something. That's herd mentality, believe it or not. That's because enough people have done it that other people then see that and think, huh, that's a good idea. They might not even know why it's a good idea or why it's cool, but they just sort of copy it and go onto it. And you can use that in your project. You can use that in making a difference because there's a fact that if one third of the UK's population, if one third of everyone in England did something, let's say one third of everyone in England took a positive action for nature or planted a tree, then the other two thirds, even though there's way, way more of them, they'd sort of go, huh, planting a tree, doing good things for nature. That sounds like a good idea. And then they sort of almost subconsciously get involved and start doing it because everyone around them's starting to do it. And so you've got this thing where if one out of three people does it, in theory, the other two sort of go over because they think there must be a reason why they're doing that. And we can use that, hopefully, in our
Yeah.
projects.
So that's exciting actually, because if you're in a class and you've got something, we're going to come on to planning a project, but if you've got something, you don't need to get 30 people in your class to necessarily agree with it. But if you start to encourage some people to get on board and to agree with your cause, if you get about 10 of them on board, then the rest of them might start to follow suit with
Mm,
because of that herd mentality.
yeah, it's a
But
very good point.
so now we're
Right.
going to look at actually planning a project. Um, so this is the bit. This is where Harry's expertise really comes into play. Um, and this is something that in this masterclass you're going to actually start doing some of the planning of the project itself. But we'd be
Mm.
really, really excited if some of you were willing to have a go at actually putting it into action, wouldn't we, Harry?
I think that that's what we're really hoping to get out of this, guys, is we want some of you to find something that you're really, really interested or you're really passionate about, and then go forwards and actually have a go at doing it in real life. That'd just be absolutely amazing. It would be really, really inspirational, actually, for both of us, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So we are excited definitely to see the outcomes of every masterclass, but in particular, to see how you guys get on with this. So the first step that Harry's given us is finding your passion.
Yeah, so you're wanting to set up a project. You're at this masterclass firstly, so you must like nature unless someone's forced you to come here, which I hope they haven't. But I reckon you like nature. So I want to find out sort of, or want you to think about why. What is it about nature that you really, really like? Is it maybe an animal that you really like? Have you got a species that you're really, really passionate about conserving? Like me and my house sparrows, for example. I saw house sparrows every day, and then one day I didn't see quite as many, or they didn't come back to the garden. And that's where my passion started. Um, or you could think about, why did you get into nature in the first place? A lot of people, I don't know if this is true for any of you, but a lot of people say they often went out with parents or grandparents and they took them to sort of places like nature reserves where they saw species there, and that's those sort of memories got them interested in going outside and into seeing nature. So I just want you to think about, really pause the video and have a go for a couple of minutes for me. Just think about, what is it that gets you passionate about nature? What is it that you find really, really exciting? Or on the contrary, what is it that makes you really sad? Because a lot of the time we turn on the news and it's sort of about climate change. It's about this animal's nearly gone extinct. This is really rare. And it's all really, really sad. Have you ever turned on the news and seen one of those news stories and it's like really hit you? Because if you have, that might be quite a good place to start your project. And it can be anything as well. It doesn't have to be something in your area like a house sparrow. If the rainforests that are being cut down in Brazil, for example, really, really make you want to do something, make you really sad, maybe it's that. But just have a go for me. Just sort of pause the video for a couple of minutes, um, and have a think about, what is it that makes you passionate? What do you want to save?
And I think that links really well to, like Harry said there, emotions. There are some things, if you can feel an emotion about something, then that's something that must mean something to you. So if there are certain things that when you see them in nature, you feel happier, you feel excited to see them, whether it's ladybirds, whether it's beautiful wildflowers, whether it's the tree you planted growing strong and growing tall, maybe it's got taller than you and it makes you excited, then those things that create those emotions are often something we're quite passionate about. And like Harry said, when he heard about the declining house sparrow population, that's something that made him sad and made him concerned and made him worried for them. And when something stirs those emotions, it must mean something to you. Because if it didn't, you wouldn't be bothered. So anything like that in nature that creates those emotions, they may be where your passions lie.
Mm, yeah,
So have a
100%.
think.
Anything that makes you feel any emotion, happy or sad, that's always a good starting point. And just giving sort of save the house sparrows the example. House sparrows were this bird that were everywhere and were really common. And I don't think it was actually me seeing them. It was just one day reading about how there just weren't as many anymore. That was sort of my passionate moment when I was like, oh, these birds that I see every day, it turns out overall they're doing really badly. And I was starting to notice that after I read that. So that was where my passion started. That was where I was like, right, I know what I want to do now, but I don't know what to do or how to do it. So hopefully you've all got your passion now. You've got something in your head. Maybe you've written it down to remember. And we're now going to look at the how a little bit more.
Just before we do that, Harry, for anyone who's still struggling, then we have got some. We've mentioned your house sparrow campaign, but we've got some
Mm,
other faces that you guys may recognise, and if not, you may come across them in the next few weeks. That might give you some ideas about where some of our ambassadors have found their passions.
yeah, so this handsome looking guy on the left putting up a bird box you might recognize. The guy in the middle is a lovely, lovely man called James, who's another ambassador who you'll be having your next masterclass with, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's next Wednesday with James. Yep,
Yeah, which is
3rd of
going to be a
July.
really exciting one. And James is very good at doing the direct and the indirect impact because what he's done is he was really passionate about plastic pollution and litter, as I'm sure all of you guys are. And what he did was he went out and started doing litter picks and he started collecting it. And he's turned it into this amazing art. And he then takes the art and it's up in, he had his own art gallery for a bit. I don't know if he still does. Do you know, Katie?
He mainly exhibits in different places around the country now. So
Hmm.
yeah, so his art sells across the world actually, spreading that message. And his passion, or the thing that upset him, was seeing litter, and seeing things that single-use products that had been used once that were still perfectly good, but were designed to be thrown away. And that's something that he wanted to change, and he used his own creativity to find his way to do that. So he will tell you a lot more about that on Wednesday, the 3rd of July. And we don't want to spoil it too much, but you can see there
No.
how that passion has driven that work that James is doing now.
And have a look at both of those two little paintings. They're not paintings actually. They're made of tiny, tiny individual strips of plastic that he's taken and he's then cut up and he's then arranged to make these huge pieces of artwork. And then you've got the indirect impact by people seeing that artwork and thinking that's amazing, and then them sort of getting involved in the message as well, which is just incredible. Um, and then we've got Amy on the other side of the screen, sitting in a very nice meadow. And Amy, at the age of 15, I think, set up her own charity, which is called Another Way. And Another Way, what that means is the path that we're going down at the moment is very much the path of climate change, and things getting worse. And Amy's created this really hopeful charity that hopes to find another way and another pathway, and she's really good at doing direct things as well. She's planted thousands and thousands of trees with that charity now. And she's got the indirect thing. She's got staff. She's got her own charity. So she's inspired people and hired them, and she's getting them out there. And she does tons of amazing talks and advocacy and work talking to people, hopefully inspiring all of the next David Attenboroughs like you guys to then go and do some more. So I'm not too sure what actually Amy's passion was, or what her moment was when she sort of decided that that was what she wanted to do. I don't know
Yeah,
if you know,
Amy,
Katie.
there is a recording if you guys haven't seen it. Ask your teacher to see if they can find the link. If not, I can reshare it to Amy's masterclass. But yeah, her passion was nature in general. She lives in a beautiful part of the world in the Lake District in the northwest of England. But she has a real passion for the oceans as well, and she studied her degree at university was related to that. And again, it was a lot to do with things like waste pollution, plastic pollution. And Amy set up as part of her charity shops where you don't get packaging. So you go in with containers and you fill up and get
Mm,
you get different products that don't have packaging. And that linked to her love for the ocean and her upset at seeing pollution. But it spreads to the wider environment, and she just loves anything to do with nature and the environment and protecting our planet. And that's why she's got involved in all of these tree planting projects into schools, etc. And that is all just something that she's seen that was didn't quite sit right with her, that she wasn't comfortable with, and wanted to do something about it. And we know you guys have all that passion in so much quantity inside you. So these are just some ideas of how you can do something about it. So that's what we'll get on now.
mm. And Amy, by the way, is one person, just like all of you, one person. She worked on her own and achieved this all by herself. So you absolutely can. And what we
At
want
a
to look
young
at,
age, though, like you did with your house sparrows, you don't need to wait till you are 25 and an adult and fully grown and able to vote and to make a difference. You can start that now.
absolutely, a very good point. And what we want to have a look at now, after you've got your passion. So hopefully you've got an idea now. You've got a species, or maybe it's an area that you want to clean up, or maybe it's somewhere that you think trees could be planted, or whatever it is, whatever your goal is. Maybe you want to help with something overseas, like some of the felling, or maybe you want to raise awareness. We want to look at your strengths, because you've got this thing, you've got this passion, and you want to do something. But we want to find out how you can do that in the best way. Say, because I have my house sparrows, right? I really, really wanted to save my house sparrows. One of the ways I could have saved them is by raising loads of awareness by going around and making house sparrow songs and going and singing to loads of people. But I'm rubbish at singing. Nobody would have come to listen to me sing because I sound horrible, and I would have raised no awareness whatsoever. Loads of people would have come and heard my voice and gone, "Oh no, I hate house sparrows if that guy's related to them." So I decided I probably wouldn't do that. But what I was kind of good at was DIY. I did a lot of stuff sort of outside. I worked as a ranger for a little bit, which is a very cool practical job. You do lots of things, like managing habitats, meadows and woods, lifting stuff and moving things. And so I thought maybe I could use that to somehow help the house sparrow. And what I want you guys to have a think about now is, what are your strengths? Or maybe a strength. Ideally, let's aim for three things that you think you're really good at. If you're struggling, you could ask the person next to you. I think that's quite a good way to do these things often, because it's quite hard to think about yourself and sort of say like really nice things about yourself and talk about you. But maybe the person next to you you've noticed is really good at art, and you could say, "Oh, you know that you're really passionate about plastic pollution. Maybe you could make some art out of it, and then use that to raise awareness by posting it online." Or maybe someone next to you is really good at writing, and you think, maybe as an indirect way to help that forest that's getting cut down, you could create some pieces of writing about it and put them out online. You could use a school subject as well. If you or someone near you, someone in the room, is really, really good at a specific subject at school, maybe they can somehow use that, because they're probably pretty good at it. If they like it, you're normally also good at the thing. So I just want you guys to have spend a few minutes thinking about yourself or somebody else in the room, and then telling them something that you're really, really good at, or your strength, and then maybe how think about how you could combine the two. We'll come on to that later. So just spend a couple minutes, press pause if you're watching this as a recording, and then come back in a little bit and we'll continue.
What I can tell you, Harry, I am not the most sporty person. So I'm probably, if I were to try and do a sponsored run for a charity or to support a cause, I probably would not finish that. I would be a bit rubbish. So I'm probably not going to do kind of a sporting event or hold a charity sports match to raise awareness, because it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be my strength. But I, like you, I do like the DIY, I do like the practical, I like to be outside. So the fact that I love being outside, the fact that I quite like practical things, I would like to do something outside.
That's very interesting as well, because at the moment there's lots of invertebrates in the UK that are really struggling because there's not enough deadwood habitats around. Because people all the time, they're so obsessed with tidying away the sticks and the logs and things that
Everything needs to
fall.
be perfectly neat. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and the way that you can often help out with that as well is by cutting up bits of wood or by carrying logs and taking them to areas and creating these deadwood habitats. So, if
Yeah.
you've ever felt a passion for invertebrates,
I've even
you'd be
heard
aware.
of dead hedges, where instead of having living planted trees, all of those pieces of dead wood are stacked in to create almost hedgerows that are perfect
Mm,
habitats. So yeah, that could be.
very
Do you
cool.
know what? If you don't see me at the next masterclass, guys,
No, you
I
are.
might have
You're off
found
with
my
your dead
thing.
hedge somewhere. Yeah.
Possible. Okay.
Right. So hopefully you've now got your passion. It's the thing that you really want to do, be that an area of land that you want to clear, be that a species you want to help, something you want to raise awareness for. And now, hopefully, I hope you've got something that you know that you're good at, whether that's writing, whether that's singing, whether that's maybe a masterclass you've really enjoyed, actually. Maybe one of the other masterclasses you've thought, yeah, I could get into this writing business. Now you could maybe use that and marry the two up, which is what we're going to do now. We're going to look at putting your project together and pulling these bits together. So what I want you to think about now is the type of action you want to do quickly. So you've got your thing. Will you be going down the route of maybe raising awareness? This might involve social media. It might involve things like going online and doing things there. Or do you want to do something more practical, which would involve, I don't know, maybe working with local people, working with your council could be quite a good one sometimes. If you're really passionate about an area, you can always look up or ask someone to look up and find the email address of your council. And as your action, you can write to them and say, I'm really, really passionate about this. Could we do something like planting some trees along this bit? Maybe tell them a bit about yourself as well, because that always really, really helps. And marrying all of that together to create your project. So using my example, I decided I wasn't very good at singing. I decided I wanted to build some bird boxes. And really, what I find is once you've got the passion and once you know how you're going to get there, the rest sort of falls into place. People are really, really happy to help you if you're passionate about something. This is what I found out because I was 15 at the time. I don't think I had a job. I didn't have any money. And the way that I built my bird boxes was firstly, I live near the sea, so I got a lot of nice bits of driftwood that I could build them out of. But I didn't have any screws, any nails, I didn't have any tools. So what I did was I braved it a bit and I spoke to some people and I set up a Just Giving thing, which is essentially like a little web page that you put up and you say, my name is Harry. I'm really passionate about house sparrows. I'd like to build some bird boxes, but I've not got any money to do so. Would you be willing to give me some money? And you post that, and amazingly, people helped me. And I was given the money and the resources that I needed to then go and build my bird boxes. And when I sort of ended Save the House Sparrow to go and start another job, I'd built over 400 bird boxes and put them up, all because of these other people and their kindness. So once you got these two things, the rest falls into place. But to help lay it all out, you've hopefully all got this in front of you. If you've not got it in front of you, then I hope you've got one. I think you should, shouldn't you, Katie?
Yeah,
Somewhere in your
all
pack.
teachers should have got these packs. If any don't, let me know. You can note these things down on paper, everything that we've discussed in the meantime, but you should all have your packs that have got these masterclass passports in them.
Yeah, so what I would like you guys to do is essentially fill this out because a lot of the time you have quite a good idea or you're in a good headspace and you think of something really cool and then something happens and you completely forget. It happens all the time with me. Like I pick up my phone or something and I'm like, I picked up that phone for a reason and now I can't remember what it is. So write your ideas down as soon as they come into your head, or they might go, like they do with me quite a lot of the time. And we've got sort of your to-do list now on the screen, your to-do list to saving the world. Number one is I'd like you to go through and complete that project plan. Just have a think about everything that you've thought about or we've spoken about in this session, what your passions are, how you can do it, and then create your own to-do list to get to your goal. So this is another bit I've not really spoken about much, but along with your passion, you want to try and give yourself a goal. So my goal was saving the house sparrow, which was quite a big one. And I didn't quite get there in the end. I didn't save in all of the house sparrows everywhere in the world, but I saved the house sparrows in my area, which was kind of the goal that I was going for. So as well as your passion, maybe think of a goal. Maybe the beach near you is really, really covered in litter and you want to see it clean. Maybe there's an area in a park near you where you'd love there to be a hedgerow. Maybe there's somewhere you'd like some bird feeders put up. Or maybe if it's something online or something raising awareness, maybe there's sort of like you want to reach 10,000 people about something that you feel really, really passionately about.
And
So
you
think
might,
of a goal in there.
yeah,
Sorry, Katie.
you might grow and develop your goals. So you might think, right, I'm going to start by, and it might be your class might be the people you want to influence, and then your school,
Mm.
and then beyond. You might start by saying, I'd like to take this action, whether it's putting up bird boxes or creating bug habitats or growing wildflowers. I'd like to start by doing that in school. Check you've got permission first before you go putting up a bird box. But that's my place, and I know that my school's super supportive and we can try there. And then once that's happened, then I might try writing to the council and going wider into the community. Or there might be another school nearby that's connected to us that we could go and try and do something there. So you might think I'm going to have a couple of goals. One might be an early one, and then I might kind of develop it. You might think where it could go to beyond this, and that's great. But you need to just think what am I going to start with? Because it probably won't be tomorrow, save the world. But that would be quite hard for one person
Mm.
to do in one day. So keep it measurable, keep it something that you think that's something I can start with. And as I get more confident and experienced, build up more and more.
Yeah. Schools, by the way, are a great place to make a difference. If you feel really passionate about something, just have a look around you. You're surrounded by other people. You're surrounded by people that you can talk to, people that could help you out. You've got teachers, you've got loads of support. You've got a school. Maybe you could help the nature in your school. I think that's a great goal. And that's a goal that I never really had when I was at school. And I'm kind of gutted that I didn't. Because that will stay there forever then if you put up those bird boxes or make a change there. But yeah, just think about your to-do list. Think about what steps do you need to do to reach your goal and save the world at the end of it all, which I know that you're going to do. Um, Speak to your teacher and check that that's okay to run your project. Because as Katie said, it would be if your goal was to sort of reintroduce beavers, that's an amazing goal. Beavers, such a cool animal, such a cool animal. They do really good things for our biodiversity. But if one day you went to school and there was an emergency assembly because there were beavers all around the playground and it was your fault, it might not be the best way to get your opinion and your action across. Just beavers running around everywhere and you
But
being
it
like,
would be very
yes.
impressive that you'd achieved that. It just might possibly cause some problems.
I secretly would think that's very cool. But your teachers and everyone else might not think it's very cool. So just check with whatever you're doing and make sure that it's all okay, and it's allowed with everyone involved. And then finally, update us because what we'd really like is for you all hopefully to have a project in mind and then to actually go forwards and do that. And we were sort of talking beforehand about helping you or me helping you as you go forwards. So when I first started Save the House Sparrows, I was a teenager. I didn't really know that much about nature. I didn't really know much about how to help it. And I would have loved to just had someone there to almost sort of give you support and, say, yeah, that's the right thing. That's maybe you could do that a little bit better another way. And just someone there to sort of help you and to ask questions to and to keep you going. So if there are any resources, number one, speak to your teachers, your classmates, your parents, your whoever it is, because they're often much, much more keen to help you than you realize. But then number two, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. We were talking about sort of having it so that if you set up a project, you can then log on and ask me some questions, or we could just have like a little chat about whatever you're wanting to do. And then I'll hopefully be able to give you some tips that are a bit more specific to you, because I've said lots of words over the past however long this has been, and we've talked about quite a lot, but it might not be very specific to your project. And if you're just like, oh, I'd love to do this, but I don't quite know how, or I'm still stuck on what my strengths are, I think we're going to try and set it up, Katie, aren't we? That you will then be able to reach out and ask us questions, and
Yeah,
we'll be able to help
absolutely.
take you
Now,
through
this
it.
is an amazing opportunity. So Harry's offering here to do a follow-up. So if your school, your ambassadors, you've got loads of amazing ideas, you've got your project planned, you might have started to take the first steps and just think, is this the best way? Is this what am I getting the most out of it that I can? How do I go about doing this? You can speak to your teacher. Your teacher can get in touch with us, and we could set up a drop-in session to for you guys to kind of ask Harry some questions to explain to him. Or even you might not have questions. You might have thought, I've absolutely nailed this. This is going so well, and I'm so proud. And I just want to let Harry know that this has been amazing so far. Because we want to love that. We want to hear that too. We absolutely love to hear what you guys are
Mm,
doing. So Harry's willing to do these drop-in sessions where you can ask questions, share your successes, share the problems that you've had. We can try and help you solve them, try and help get around. Because the point of this, never, very few things go perfect first time. Very few things can be improved in some ways. But we want to share in your successes and we want to help you make them as successful as possible. So Harry is so kind and he's offered, even though he's super busy and he's been getting up at 5 a.m. to do dawn surveys as part of his other job, he's willing to give his time to kind of help you through the process of setting up a project and keeping it going and keeping it going from strength to strength as well. So that is a really,
mm,
really generous offer. That we
yeah.
didn't ask Harry to do. He just wants to do it because he just loves nature like you guys do. So we would love for your teachers to drop us an email if you guys want to update us with how your projects are going and any issues you might be having and any successes you're having. We'd love to share them.
Honestly, no, it's so excited to potentially be working with some of you guys, saving the world. What could be more exciting than that? Working
Yeah.
together to go and plant trees and to make change and do positive stuff for the environment. Now, the time is now to do it, so it would be absolutely amazing if some of you guys did want to reach out and make your project a reality. So I guess just sort of to wrap it up now, really, isn't it? We've
Yeah,
got
I
your
feel like we've absolutely covered the impact
mm,
that one person can have. We've seen examples from Harry's house sparrow to what he's doing now, James and Amy. Um, and those people covered all the different methods, a range of different methods of helping nature. But there are so many more. You've met Ambassador Ben, who does it through music, but there are
mm,
so many different people who you may know out there, who use different skills and talents. You don't need to stick to what we've talked about today. Be creative. We can't wait. We genuinely can't wait to see what you guys get up to. So make sure you complete that project outline if you've not paused and done it as we've gone along. Get that first because it's really easy to rush into doing things just because you've got one idea and you want to go and do it. But actually, I've not thought it through, and now I've started. I've not got everything I need to do this, and get it get it down on paper and get a plan in place first. Make sure
mm,
it's okay, get it checked out, and then get started. And then please let us know how it's going. Check in with us, see we can help in any way we can, then we certainly will do. And you've
mm.
got that email address for your teachers to reach out, schools@treecouncil.org.uk. And a little reminder that the next masterclass is on Wednesday next week, that's the 3rd of July. It's James's Art in Nature. So this is one that you need to do a little bit of prep for, and I've mentioned this in an email to your teachers, because what you're going to need for that are some materials. These could be things that would be going in the bin. It might be things like packaging, clean packaging, like cereal boxes. It might be the labels you get on drinks bottles. It might be magazines or printed materials. And sometimes James uses items from nature. So if you get leaves that have fallen off trees, petals that have fallen off flowers, don't pull them off. But if they've fallen off, then that's fair enough. And gather a few. Don't take too many because they're still good to have leaves on the ground as well for other insects and biodiversity. Grab a few and you can use them as well in that art. So just have a little pile of materials that you're going to be able to cut up, not going to get into trouble for cutting up, and you're going to be able to use them in the next session. So that's
Mm,
all from us. So just a massive, from me, thank you to Harry for joining us on a very busy day. Because you know what? He's literally about to head out, get the train, and go to St Fagans for another 2 days of our Force for Nature exhibition in Cardiff. You may well have seen the festival there yesterday. You may well have found your school was mentioned in getting outstanding beacons, or someone from your school, or even you, if you're joining us. May Lucy, I know, is may well be online, may well be joining us, and it's got a 1 hour speaking up competition. So a huge well done to everyone, anyone and everyone involved in that. Harry couldn't make it for the festival, but he's still going to get into the action and head up there and join the exhibition today. So a huge thank you to Harry for squeezing this in before you get on the train and head to Cardiff. And thank
No,
you to everyone for
thank you.
joining and for watching the recording as well. So next masterclass is July the 3rd, and that is James's Art in Nature. So make sure you get your materials ready, guys. Thanks so much, and we will see you again soon.
See you in a bit, guys. Good luck on your projects.